Hello and welcome. Today I want to talk to you about 2013's The Conjuring, a film that spawned a whole swarm of sequels and imitators and one of the biggest horror franchises of the decade. But today I wanted to do things a little bit differently because I want to talk about not just the classic clapping scene that everybody remembers, but also to talk about why I think the trailer pulled this scare off better than the film itself did. I'm Sandy Nicholson and this is Perfect Scares. The Conjuring films are incredibly popular, but also a little bit divisive among horror fans. But while the franchise as a whole has some stinkers, and even the original isn't anything I would call a masterpiece, it does have moments that really work, and one of them is undeniably the clapping scene. So let's start with the trailer version.
1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 10. First clap.
It's a pretty phenomenal piece of editing that the rules of the clapping game are established so quickly here. It's only 17 seconds before things start to get creepy. I talked about narrative perspective in more detail in the video about the eye, but it's here too. We start at a place where the audience knows there's nobody there, but she doesn't, and that disparity causes tension. But as the sequence moves on, that changes, and now both the audience and the character know something is wrong, and that creates empathy, and the shift between those two things is what propels the audience through the sequence.
Girls, it's way past your bedtime.
The camera move here is beautiful as well, the way it slowly creeps around then follows her eyeline to the open door, and then we get the climax.
Who's ever down there? I'm gonna lock you in now. Ah! Help! Andrea! Help!
Now let's look at the same sequence in the film itself. It plays out very similarly, but there's an addition of a ghostly whisper along with the clapping that undercuts the scene. We want the moment that it turns out to be nobody there to be the point where this turns creepy, because that's the shift in our understanding. If there's a spooky voice there as well, then we already know something's creepy, and the final reveal is dampened.
You took your blindfold off. I win. You weren't even warm, Mom. I was in Christine and Nancy's room.
Then there are 7 minutes in between that and the next iteration of the clapping game, during which time much bigger and more dramatic things have happened, so it doesn't feel like an escalation at all, and the momentum from that first reveal has gone. Now the film has to re-establish that tension and can't do it as effectively because it's now forced to effectively redo the same scene.
Girls, it's way past your bedtime.
Once again, someone is clapping, but it's not the girls. Well, yeah, that's creepy, but we already knew that from the first scene. Now, it's still very effective, it's still a really good scare, but the details do make a difference. That beautiful following of the eyeline that puts a square in the character's perspective is still there, but after already having been investigating a bunch of open doors, seeing another one is a lot less creepy.
Who's ever down there? I'm gonna lock you in now!
The knock down the stairs feels a little bit cartoonish as well because the fall is so severe that it's hard not to think she'd be injured by it. And once we get to the cellar, the scare that happens there with the ball is fine, but it doesn't feel related to the claps. It's a tangent, and tangents aren't propulsive. But the scene killer is this.
Hey, wanna play hide and clap?
There is nothing gained by hearing the voice except that it ruins the misdirect. The scene is still played as though we're supposed to be looking down into the cellar only to have the horror come from behind her, but we know it's coming from behind her because we heard a voice.
Wanna play hide and clap?
In addition to that, it feels like a double beat because we hear her saying that she's going to clap before she does it. That perfect setup and payoff is bogged down by unnecessary baggage in between, and a perfect scare is turned into a pretty good one. Still, it is a good moment, and it's iconic for a reason. Plus, I don't really want this to be a negative channel. I think there's plenty of those out there, so I do want to highlight a moment that I do think is excellent. They're having a normal, pleasant conversation, and then the weather starts to turn, which is already played as a turning point in itself. It's supposed to signify that things are about to get really bad, and her taking the sheets down is her demonstrating her resolve in the face of that. All very classic stuff. But then, this happens. And it's fucking great. It's quick and surprising and reveals not just that something was there, but in all likelihood it was there the whole time without you knowing it. It's a fantastic moment, and I don't think it gets nearly enough credit. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and let me know if you disagree, if you think the clapping scene worked better in the film than the trailer, or if you think that this film is over or underrated. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time.